So excited.
That's how the podcast is started.
Sorry, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this moment for such a long time.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Table Talk.
That's right.
That is the new legitimate name because the Takeaway Table podcast is just way too long.
It's a mouthful.
It is a freaking mouthful. But today we have yet another special guest.
Man,
If you did not pick up from the early chit chat,
yeah.
before
Little
the
excited
intro.
squeal they let out.
Yeah.
You're just really good friends with mine.
Yeah,
It's just something
okay.
I've been
Okay,
waiting
calm
for.
down. Okay.
Let's kind of like put a mental picture of who Nadir is in your mind. If you're listening to this in the car, I hope you're driving safe. Nadir is, imagine a...
Why don't we let Nadir introduce himself?
Imagine...
No.
You,
Let's see where this goes.
Yes.
Okay.
Imagine an angel
Oh my god.
and a
Continue. Come up. You got this.
It is not working.
lion had a
Sorry,
baby.
what?
An angel lion.
You're like
I love
a
it.
Greek god.
No,
I'm gonna stop here.
I'm gonna nail it on the. I'm gonna nail on the head.
Okay.
Imagine the proper casting of Aladdin for Aladdin.
Oh, snap.
In my heart.
There we go.
Did you watch Landon?
Yes,
did.
he
What did
did.
you like it?
I
And he
didn't
was
watch it.
salty the whole way.
I thought
Oh,
it was
man.
pretty
He
crap.
came out, posed in front of the poster.
Yes,
I was
I
like, yo,
remember that.
premiere. The real Aladdin's over here, guys.
Okay, why don't we give
For real,
Nadir-
who you be?
Who
man?
you?
Who you be?
My name is Nadir. I'm a YouTuber, content creator, and I kind of
Mm.
travel the world looking at misrepresented or underrepresented cultures,
Wow,
and I try and
nice.
provide them a platform. And
Nice.
Okay.
That almost sounded like I travel the world misrepresenting cultures, but no, he does not.
Okay,
Okay,
fine
so-
line between the both.
Yes. Yes.
Quick story of how we met Nadir. Nadir is actually based in London.
You're in London.
He's got a British passport.
Yes,
Yeah, but
ladies.
no,
Sorry.
wait, hold on. Not yet. The plugins at the end, man.
No, hold on.
But
hold
here's
on, hold on.
okay. But
You
here's
gotta
the
warm it
kicker.
up.
Here's the kicker. Ming and I and Brian, we were in London last year doing a YouTube Creators for Change kind of program, and then it was the final night, and we were having like dinner and everything. And I saw this guy, and he was smiling at me. I was like, "That's a creep." But I went over there anyway to talk to an Indonesian friend, and we were speaking in Bahasa,
Right.
and he looked at me and he said, "Huh, belum makan lagi." And I'm like, whoa, this British boy speaking Malay. Why? Why?
So context.
Yeah.
When I saw obviously, like, I'm an avid YouTube fan, and
Oh boy.
Malaysia means a lot to me because I have a lot of family here. So context is,
Right.
I'm Indonesian, Kenyan, Yemeni, Pakistani. So my Indonesian side of the family are based from KL and Jakarta.
Yeah.
So when I come to this Creatives for Change event and I see the list of creators who are involved, I noticed that one of my favorite YouTubers are there, the Ming thing.
Oh, man.
And I'm freaking out because I saw these guys back in the day. I'm talking like 10 years ago. And I think it was a video of
West
shit
View.
Melayu say or shit Malaysian say, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Right?
Shit boyfriend says, shit everyone says.
And this video was like back in the day of YouTube 1.0. So like,
0.5 actually.
yeah,
They did-
YouTube was a different space.
Yeah,
right?
they
was.
didn't nobody figured YouTube out yet.
Yeah.
Not over here. Not over here.
And to see you guys, me in the beginning of my journey was such
Oh,
a big
man.
deal, and it was a massive privilege.
Well, speaking of,
Oh, man.
we've only met you, putting it in context, right? It's barely been
A year. It's been actually just
over a year.
a year now. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you literally have scoured the globe since then.
Yeah.
Right.
You were with Vice for a bit.
I was. So what happened? I used to work in humanitarian and development,
Right.
and then kind of left that because I kind of felt like I had creative muscles to kind of like flex and figure
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And then I left that because I wanted to see how I can merge creativity with
Right.
some of the causes that I love to fight for.
Nice.
And I saw YouTube as a way to do that.
Yeah.
And that's when, at that juncture of the beginning of my YouTube career, is when I met you both at the event, at the Creators for Change
that
event.
was really when you were starting out?
No, I mean, I'd been around for like 9 months, maybe 10
Right,
months.
under a year.
So kind of still the beginning.
Mm,
Yeah.
Right.
mm, mm.
I think it's pretty crazy because we literally traveled halfway around the world
Yeah.
to meet a guy who kind of stays across from us in Taman Tun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is wild,
you
right?
frequent the same mamak as I have.
Yeah, that's pretty
Literally
crazy.
for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
So a huge blessing of
Mm.
what my life is and traveling the world is that I have places that I call home, multiple
Yeah.
places that I call home.
Right.
And Malaysia is one of them. So
Right.
I have like, when I come here, I have friends that I like to see regularly. I have like places I like to lepak regularly,
Yeah.
places I like to eat. And
Right.
you guys are an extension of that. You've become part of my Malaysian family.
Oh,
so
man.
that's,
man.
that's part of the blessing.
We
of
just feed
having
him a
that.
lot, actually.
nomadic
No,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
So which is where we kind of want to bring the conversation today,
Yeah.
right?
I think a lot of people who tune into this podcast,
Yeah.
they are very eager to figure out something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like from whatever quote unquote sage advice we can impart into their lives. I would just call it personal opinion.
Yeah.
We've not reached the level of advice yet. But yeah, what this thing that's really specific to you, MingY picked it up. What's the word?
It's this funny thing called wanderlust, right?
Have you heard of the hashtag?
Yeah, it's
wanderlust.
It's a so I think if we had to quickly define it, what
do you think wanderlust means?
So wanderlust in German is basically the insatiable need to see more places around the world.
It's German. I took
Oh,
a swing at it.
I legit didn't.
Wanderlust.
Wanderlust is a German word.
Wanderlust.
And I can speak a bit of German.
Wanderlust.
So the W is like a verb.
Okay.
Reverse.
Can you give us some
So
German right now?
Wanderlust.
Oh.
We
Look
all
at
learn
my
something
sausages,
new.
man.
Hey,
Just kidding.
now all y'all listening to this can say, do you know that's a German word? You can tell all your friends.
Yeah, but no,
And you heard it
I
here.
guess the reason why we want to talk about this today was because I think in this generation right now today, where looking good is part of your brand, not just you. I mean, I'm talking about people in general. Instagram, you always want to post the nicest pictures.
Yeah.
And the nicest pictures happen in the nicest places.
Yes.
And so often you have friends, I'm sure everyone who's listening to this as well, you can think of like 5 friends right now. Their Instagram profile has the word wanderluster in their bio, which is absolutely disgusting.
And some of them
They turned it into a noun.
Yeah.
they don't even.
It's a wanderluster.
They don't use it grammatically right.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And so because everyone has decided that they have this insatiable need to travel. Right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, okay, given we talked about this in the previous podcast about how people want to get out from their kind of like boring old lives, travel the world and stuff like that.
Sure.
But everyone takes this term so...
Literally.
Yeah, and they think like, oh, just because I've been to like, Kajang, Kapok and Puchong, I'm a wanderluster, right?
Yeah.
But no, we're actually talking to someone today who literally doesn't quite have a home. And when we say that, he does have a home with his family in London, but Nadir is never in one place for more than a month.
I think his home is the airports he lives in.
Well, it's funny you say that because
Basically.
airports are very comfortable places for me.
That is
right?
true. Depending on which you go to though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Singapore is very nice.
Singapore, come on.
Singapore,
We're
come
all
on.
believers of Changi. Changi, if you're watching this, we are
We
totally
love you.
down.
Thank you for
Just
this.
get sponsored.
For real.
But like, what's interesting is that, again, like I'm a mixed ethnic boy, right?
Yes.
So like the idea of home has been complicated and tenuous for me since a very young age.
Right.
Where is home? I don't know. Am I British? It's debatable because I'm not blonde, I'm not blue-eyed, I don't represent what Britishness
This is the pretense we met you with, because when we were going on that project, we were all trying to figure out where you're from.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was your project.
And
Like,
I know,
what
oh my
is
gosh.
home, right? Yeah.
Because I have a very culturally ambiguous face and people are very curious and being mixed. I love that because I have ownership over multiple places. So that's why I think travel was kind of like ingrained in me from a very young age, right? Was there a place more than the place that I grew up in that could and possibly feel more like home?
Right.
And that's what instigated the kind of need or the discovery and the search for somewhere that felt more comfortable.
Right.
Have I found that place? No, I think it's a continuing journey. But what I have learned through my travels is that the idea of home doesn't necessarily mean a physical space, right? So I think what I did when I was younger was associate that sense of belonging with land.
location.
Within the
Yeah,
four
yeah.
walls.
Exactly.
You need a place to sit,
Right.
sleep.
But there's a reason, for example, like even like meeting you is like a huge turning point in probably all of our lives because like we come from very different backgrounds.
Yeah.
You guys are Chinese Malaysian, me London, mixed ethnic boy. But there's a common currency between us, right? There's a reason why we get on. There's a reason why we can hang out because there's like this cultural consistency. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm not sure myself.
Yeah.
I think until we met you, we weren't even thinking about the fact that, hey, actually, we are Chinese. Where our family's from, actually.
Because
Kind of
what's interesting about you guys, and I'd love to like speak to you guys more in detail, is that when I asked you guys like, what do you feel?
Right.
You said, well, we're Malaysian. I was like, cool. You're Malaysian Chinese. They're like, yeah. I was like, do you speak Chinese? They're like, no. Right?
No.
But like language is interesting because like, and a lot of people say language is the key to a culture, right?
Yeah.
So how Chinese do you feel?
Almost dissociated from it. But we should dive into that another time because that's going way
That's about us. We want to
deeper.
No, I just want to talk with you about your travels in the past. So we met you back in June last year, right?
Yeah.
Around my birthday. And since then, you've been working with UN.
Yes.
Nadir's doing something with the United Nations because he's one of them great people, for reals.
Thank you.
Where have you been in this past 12 months?
Okay, so the past 12 months, where have I been? I've been. You want me to name all of them?
Yeah, just do it, man.
Let's go. Okay, some really interesting places that I've been. I'll whittle it down. I've been to Uzbekistan, which was phenomenal.
Wow.
The stands, Central Asia, there's a lot of uncharted territory, and I want to see them all. I've been to Bosnia, which was incredible as well.
Right.
I've been to Kenya. I've been to Indonesia. I've been to Malaysia.
Shwe Dagon?
Shwedagon, which was stunning. I've also been to, of course, Thailand. I've been to Sri Lanka, Maldives.
Yeah, I'm just stalking your Instagram as you say this.
I could go on.
Yeah.
But like for me, like I'm not saying these things because it's like, oh, look at me, look where I've been.
Right.
But I'm very thankful for the opportunity to see places that normally I wouldn't have the opportunity.
And I think the thing about you when you travel is that you aren't the kind that goes and hits up the lavish lifestyles.
Yeah.
There's a very real sense of who you are, and you bring that into your travels as well, which is something that people don't really do on Instagram, because, you know, whenever they call themselves a wanderluster, or when they want to be a traveler, it's always which hotel, which is the nicest cafe is at, right?
Sure.
But you're digging up in the slums.
I hope so.
Looking for stories, man.
I mean, I can only wish I hope so, because for me, it's interesting that you say that, because I think what you're touching on is like the superficiality of like being a wanderluster, right?
Right.
Is that we're trying to show, look how amazing my life is, because I have the opportunity to travel.
Look at the shot I got.
Right.
Yeah.
And what kind of culture is that what kind of social media culture is that trying to build for other people? We're trying to show them, look how great I am. I've got to see
voyeuristic one.
Yes.
You know, narcissistic, voyeuristic.
Exactly. And for me, I think a huge part of my travel, and I don't know whether I've got it right or not, but what I try to do is like remind people of the intention of why I travel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I go to a place, I want to understand the culture as best as I can to highlight elements of it that people would rarely see.
I'm going to put a bookmark right here where we're talking, and try and angle it in a way that I think potential people who might be tuning in because of the title of this podcast can at least get some kind of insight from what you do. Sure. Like right there in the last like 10, 11 minutes, I think you've given us a background of who you are, what you've been doing for the past few years, places you've been, and I think the number one thing we should start talking about is your kind of wanderlust, right? Yeah. Your kind of travels are really based on a very strong purpose. You know, that purpose of discovery, the purpose of interpreting cultures which are very misrepresented.
Yes.
As opposed to
getting one for the gram.
Let's get some holidays out. I've always heard of this place. Let's visit this place.
Yeah.
I think these places that you go to have some kind of meaning for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Like what is the selection process of these locations?
I think just before we dive into that, we're not saying that it's wrong to want to travel.
No,
no, it's not.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. And I was just about to say that. I was just about to caveat that.
It's not. Yeah.
So a lot of what I try to do through my channel is to make meaningful travel cool.
Yes.
Right. And what does that mean is that we don't like. Of course, I'm in it for the gram as well.
Yeah.
I want the beautiful shot of this place.
And you get them right. Yeah.
But like the intention behind it is, but like behind this picture, there's a meaning behind it, and that's what I want to emphasize, is that you shouldn't just travel for the sake of your social media presence or trying to make people jealous. But like when I travel, I'm trying to understand this place in a nuanced and sensitive way. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, is that we as content creators, is that how do we like inspire young people, is that when they arrive in a place, they're trying to understand it on a deeper level, and not just a superficial.
There you go.
So and that's my creative challenge.
And then there's that sense of respect going into that place as well, right?
Exactly.
Which I think a lot of people oversee, because when they go to a new place, when they look at a place as this is going to be, I guess it's my new backdrop, it's my new set for my new picture. There's very little respect that goes into it as well, because you don't respect the people, don't respect the culture, and everything that you do there ends up becoming a very self-centered trip, right? And so, like, I guess where we're heading to now is, how do you be intentional about the mindset heading to a place?
I think in being intentional starts with a sincere effort to really question yourself, right? So what's the most interesting thing about travel is that you meet so many people, but the hardest conversation you'll ever have is with yourself, right? And I travel alone, so I have a lot of time to like conversate with myself, right? Yeah. And a lot of that is asking myself, why am I here?
Why are you going to this place?
Yes. Right. And you know what's funny about traveling? There's a saying, what is it? You'll travel to many strange places, but travel leaves you a stranger in your own.
Wow.
Right? And basically what that means is that the more places you go, the more you start to appreciate where you've come from, right? And you understand it on deeper levels, right? So when I travel to a place, I'm thinking, I don't want to judge. For example, I've been to some places that, in terms of gender equality, might have a different idea to what I'm used to, right? Do I come in and be like, from my own paradigm, be like, this is really weird, this is really different, I don't agree with all of this, right? Or do I come in and try to understand that this is a product of specific historical and social elements and try to understand it from their perspective? So it's two very different. Are you being judgmental from the outside in? Or are you trying to incorporate yourself and understand why people are a certain way? Once you do that, you realize that everyone is kind, good people who are hospitable and loving.
I want to pick up on that, because I think, like, for those of y'all, I think we're angling this in a way where we're trying to give some kind of guidance for people who want to do this. Quote unquote, I would love to be a wanderluster as a job,
as a
professional travel
right?
enthusiast. Right. And I think the first point we got to get straight is number one, intention. The intention of why are you going to this place? 100%. And I think the intention picks up immediately, like your research that you did. Is this real research, or do you see an article on an article site saying like 5 best places you should take a picture at so and so country? And I think another great sign is when you are traveling, what is it you're respecting? The shot, or are you actually thinking about the people around 100%. that picture? And I think that separates that. Okay, we're going to move into the next, but intention is right.
Before you move on to that,
go ahead.
It reminds me of like even here in Malaysia,
right?
I went to Batu Caves, right?
Right.
And Batu Caves is a religious place,
right?
And there was this couple from the west. I don't know where from, but they were basically being lots of PDA to the point where it was like to the point of impropriety, right? Where it was like too much PDA,
right?
And this is a religious space for people. See, there's a difference between being like respectful of a place,
right,
and understanding the kind of culture
that
happens.
And this is happening a lot nowadays. Okay, we don't have to highlight the Logan Paul in Japan.
I was just thinking
incident,
of that,
right?
Exactly.
Even more recently is the Chernobyl happenings with all the influences. So these things are happening, but that is a very clear sign where you're going there for the gram. You're not doing anything else, but you're going there for the shots. Because obviously these places are beautiful in their own way, but they are beautiful with a meaning. You know, it's just whether you've respected the nature of that meaning, right?
But I guarantee if you respect the place, you give it the respect it deserves, the place will open up to you in more and incredible ways.
But see, no one does that. No one invests that time like you. You guys need to see how much research he does going into one of his trips.
But like, I mean, like, it's weird. And I know this sounds very like starry and very like, oh, you're chatting crap, right? But genuinely, intentional travel, it opens up to you in ways that you'll never imagine. Like, for example, I was in Uzbekistan, right? And then we were at this Registan, which is like the oldest palace in Central Asia. And it's stunning, right? And me and my colleague, we came in and we were trying to be as respectful as possible. And the guard saw us and the guard took a liking to us just from like looking at us, right? And then the guard came out to us at sunrise, just before sunrise, and was like, hey, would you guys like to come on top of the minaret at sunrise?
I saw that. I saw the stories.
And he was just invited us. He was like, I'm just looking at you guys and I like the look of you guys and you're more than welcome to come and watch sunrise from this place.
He was hoping you guys get married though.
We'll talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut them in out for like personal reasons.
But no, you're right. That I think when you pay a place its due respect,
people notice it.
People notice and they invite you deeper.
100%.
Than the shot you were going for in the first place.
Even if it's like a couple statements in the language itself, people really appreciate the effort that you're putting into it. Or if you just come in and you're just trying to speak English to people who obviously don't speak English.
Hi, picture.
Yeah, exactly.
All you get is
but like if you even try to waffle, people genuinely see your effort and they open up to you in beautiful ways.
I think what makes a difference about the content that you make is that there's a very rich story behind every trip you go to. And I think point number two, you don't go for places on the gram. You go to a lot of places that are, I would say, quote unquote, people would say that are you going to do charity work? Are you going to do some kind of UN work? I think the places you go for do not look glorious, but you interpret them as such.
Oh, thank you.
Because this is another element of the wanderluster that you have. I think it's not just about travel. You can travel anywhere.
Yes,
but you need skill to let your audience see the world through your eyes. I think that's a very big skill that separates you from a wannabe wanderluster.
Thank you.
Right?
That.
Because you do take the time to go in and like, I'm gonna do a plug for you. Like, you can follow, here's gonna be the funny part. We're talking about a lot of deep, meaningful stuff, but Nadir's Instagram handle is right in the nads.
It doesn't count if I don't plug myself, right?
It doesn't know, it's fine.
Thanks, guys.
Like, for real, if you guys, like, because we're on the podcast right now, you guys can go check out the places he's been at. I think there is definitely a difference when you read his captions as compared to someone else saying #the world is my oyster.
What's for brunch? Chilling by the poolside.
Brunching.
My captions are like love or hate. Some people think that they're really intense. I mean, like I kind of think look, I need to deserve the attention.
You're right.
Of the people that follow me.
Right. Can I just point something out as well? Point number 3. a quote unquote your kind of wanderlust kind of person, there is almost no brunch pictures.
Yeah.
There is almost none.
Every now and then, though, it might creep in.
No.
I like that disclaimer, man.
But the best part about that is the food that you do highlight are it's a communal activity. It's a cultural thing. Someone there has cooked for you.
Yeah.
A family has cooked for you. You have cooked for a family. Okay, there we go. 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah, I had
but
nothing
that's
to
back
post
in
that day.
London.
I had
That's
nothing to
your
post
home.
that day. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, a very big difference as compared to you versus quote unquote the travel influencers. There is almost no coffee.
Yeah, I think okay. I mean, we're talking smack about like travel influencers,
I know,
but I think what we're trying to talk about or kind of hit to really is that there isn't a problem in wanting to live the lavish lifestyles.
I'm not trying to say that either.
There's a whole travel industry that's based around that, right? But I think what we want to talk about, which is I feel like it's something that people don't really want to invest time into,
Right.
like how you're doing it, because you do it for a living. Okay, like you do this. You've not been home for more than a month at a time. You travel and you frequent airports, and I think there's something so impressive about that because people think it's fun. That's one. We'll talk about that in a bit. But there is a reward when you respect the place. There's a posture of respect that you go into a place, right?
100%.
And you uncover more than what you think you would.
Exactly.
When you respect it.
And like it's just about, like you said, like it's about how you view a place, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm doing my best now to be the kind of person that walks into a room and genuinely sees the most beautiful things in the room before the negative ones, right?
Wow.
And like that's what travel has really like.
No, that's a great mindset, dude.
No, but really, like, you know, when I try to make friends with people, I'll notice these things on a subconscious level, right? Like I close friends of mine, they'll walk in and the first thing they realize is like, oh, this table's too low.
Right.
Oh, this cup's too heavy. Right?
Cup is too heavy.
Something what a meaningless,
Why are these people your friends?
But like, if
it is
whatever
quite heavy,
frequents your mind is a negative thought first, it has a residual effect on everything you approach in life, right? And you could be in the most boring country, but if you decide to see it beautifully, you will.
Wow.
And the way that you portray that will come out.
I feel like that was a challenge for me because I am a very picky traveler.
He
is.
I am the kind of guy who I live by this statement when it comes to traveling. Why am I paying money to suffer? That's my number one thing. But at the same time, if you gave me the opportunity to go to India, I wouldn't pay to go. But if you gave me the opportunity, I'd jump right in.
I think, but it comes back to what you just said just now. There's nothing wrong or right about traveling lavishly, but I think it's the intention that you want to brand yourself. Like if you're thinking about doing this as a job, to see this work in a light where everything has to be of a certain standard.
Yes.
And I think you owe it to you don't owe anybody. Nobody owes you anything. I feel like it is disrespectful as well if you go to a country and you only post pictures of the hotel and you explain to people that this country is just like that.
I mean, like the whole travel industry is based on like aspiration, right? I want to be in this place. I'd love to stay in that hotel,
right?
And I think it would be very disingenuous of me to say like I'm not part and parcel of that, right? Of course there is an element of what I do that people will be like, oh, I wish I could do that, but I can't, right? And I have to accept that privilege. So I am incredibly privileged to be doing what I am doing.
Okay, let's get into the technicalities of it so we can take a break from people, just being bombarded by literally hashtag quotes every other sentence we're going.
Heavy.
It is heavy because that's how you take it is serious for you, right? Okay, back to the technicalities of it. Number one, being a traveler does mean, like we just talked about, there is an element where you need to visit hotels. People engage you to go to these places because obviously tourism is a big part of countries and their economy, especially countries with a lot of tourist spots. You need to do your dues. But I think what the main thing here is, recently there was an article that came out. There's a couple, an influencer couple that travels the world, but at the dispense of their a single mother's income. So they travel the world at the expense of a single mom's income. Okay. The mom, according to the article, has to work 2 jobs to support their travel.
I saw this.
All right. And when in the article, they asked the couple, why can't you guys get a job? It's like, no, it's detrimental to our message and our purpose. I have so many things to say. I don't even have questions.
I just want to beat them up.
The Asian in me, like literally, you get what I mean, right?
Yeah,
I think a big part of this is finance.
Sure.
There is no travel without resource.
100%.
Right? And how have you made this work? I think we reached a part of the podcast, like we'll try to get realistic with it.
Yeah.
We can talk about message. Okay, let's just assume nobody is interested in a good message. They just want to do this as a practical job.
Okay.
How did you make it work for you?
Sure. So traveling is expensive.
It is.
And initially how I kind of made it work was, how can I pull whatever resources I had to make the most out of them, right? So when I left my job and I didn't have any, I had 0 followers, I had nothing really, right? How could I travel to these places to be able to capture what I wanted to capture? So again, I'm multi-ethnic and I have family in multiple places around the world. So that would be Malaysia, Indonesia, Kenya.
Right.
And what I would do is that I traveled to these places, saved whatever resources I had, and I traveled to these places, slept on sofas.
Right.
People fed me, whatever I could like cut the corner in terms of costs.
Right.
I would do that until I had enough money to fly to the next place. Also, ultimately, I worked my ass off, right?
You have,
right?
You
and
still
like,
do, yeah.
And that even before I started my YouTube channel, I was very practical in the sense that like I had savings in which I knew, okay, I have 6 months to live off these savings to be able to do the initial investment to kind of get me going and then veer off that.
Right.
So I think creativity has to come from a place of practicality, in which you have to get real, right? So I take photographs and I take videos, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you are thinking of starting like a content channel, start with the skill. If you're good at what you do, brands will pick up at it. I'm not the biggest YouTube creator in the world. I'm actually like tiny, right? But what brands do appreciate about my content is the quality element of it, right?
Yes,
so if you're a brand and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to like sponsor some of these, they might have 10 million followers, but the quality of their content is low. It doesn't quite align with the kind of branding message of this brand, right? So if you're a lower, maybe you're a micro influencer, but you have high quality product. If you're like a Nike or you're like one of these established brands that has a focus on quality, they're more likely to invest in you from the from the start.
I can hear some people asking questions in the car right now who have like, 0 skill and they're like, hey, excuse me, not, I have no skill. How do I,
Yeah, I mean, you work your ass off.
Okay.
Like, I know there's no easy answer for that, right?
Okay.
But like, you guys know more than anyone that this is difficult.
Yeah.
Your first videos, I look at your first videos and I look at your videos now.
I mean, I started off not knowing how to use a camera.
I mean, I remember the videos, no offense, but like, I remember the first videos,
my
like,
laptop
they're
videos,
shaky,
right?
and like, they're different, right? But like, you look at you now, because over a period of time, you worked your ass off to be able to be where you are right now. And I started taking pictures at like 20, right? And it took me 3 years to get to a place where I could start posting pictures and people were like, oh wow, this is a really nice picture or video. Right? So start with the skill, develop it, cultivate it. And then once you get good enough, then you can start pitching that and leveraging that into your interests. But people like to think, oh, okay, I just want to leave my job and go straight into it. That's the wrong approach to anything in life, right?
Oh, you've just hit like a majority.
I love it.
All right, I'm gonna pick some nuggets out right there. All right.
I love nuggets.
Number one, from what you said, you were not choosy about how you start. I think a lot of people have an intention of like, I want to start this. I'm going to hit Maldives.
Correct.
You started where you could and what made sense.
You went down the street, man.
Right.
You went home. You literally went to your kampong, right? And you made content there.
Yeah.
You made the best out of it and you did not have like okay, you know what? If I want to be a travel, I need to go booms.
Yes.
I need the... What's the travel spot? Where is everyone going nowadays?
Let's just go with
Chernobyl.
Tulum.
Yeah.
Chernobyl. People love that.
Bali,
Japan now.
Japan, right?
Yeah.
And these places cost a bomb.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, which leads me to the second point. You are freaking practical.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
You need to know if you're going to do this as a job. You need the skill set to manage your finance.
Right.
It's a job. It's not
a work in progress. But we're trying.
No, I mean, but it's true because you need to come to terms where yes, this is travel, but you've chosen a job that's a very high output job, meaning you gotta spend to earn. Yeah. It literally works that way.
I mean, on the less glamorous side, yes, my lifestyle is very glamorous, but I'll be real with you, like, I don't spend a shitload of money on clothes.
It's fine. You already did. So
I don't spend a shitload of money on like clothes, for example. Right. I'm very simple. I have like 4 sets of clothes that I mix and match.
I've never seen you in a posh hotel either.
I mean, like I'm very simple in terms of what I need. Right. So like, there's a huge less glamorous side of what I do to get that stuff that I want to do done. Right. And you know, a lot of people want to buy like the hype clothes and like the hype trainers.
There has to be a
but
give and take.
Exactly. There has to be a sacrifice. And if you're not willing to sacrifice, then you're not approaching this whole thing
You're
correctly.
right. I think a lot of people, like number 3, would be that choice of investment. You invest into what is behind the camera. People want to invest into what's going to be in front. People want to look good.
Exactly.
People bring 6 outfits to travel. You bring probably 1 and maybe a change of clothes.
Well, people notice. They're like, do you have any other clothes?
Actually,
I'm like,
but yeah, so to just get things practical, like there is a way to do this, but it does not come without sacrifice. It is not glam. It is a lot of, like, say, working your ass off.
Yes.
Acquiring a skill set. And I guess that's where you sift people out. If you can complain, like, number 1, here's a bit of a spicy nugget for you guys listening at home. You might not be fit to do this if, number 1, you only want to go to certain places in your life.
Yes.
You immediately are prejudiced against some places because apparently there's no 4-star hotel here. I'm being very harsh. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure there's a market for people who only want to travel to 5-star and above.
That's me, man. I want to do that.
Right? Number 2, I also think that if you are the kind that is concerned more with just the gram you're going to get,
maybe this whole job isn't for you.
Maybe not. Because that gram is surrounded by the people living there. It's surrounded by the respect for the places you're taking pictures at. Which actually brings me to, like, remember there's an example of, there's this certain place in Indonesia which is actually a shrine or a tomb, but people go there and take pictures. It happens a lot nowadays. So if you are that kind of traveler, you might want to be a bit careful because, you know, everyone's woke nowadays. You might end up offending someone you don't intend to. And number 3, the finance part of it.
I feel like you said number 3 so many times though.
This is my third wrap up. Right. Number 3, this is my last one. If you're more concerned about making money and spending money but not earning money, this might not work out that well.
Yes.
Right?
And like, you have to be practical with yourself, right? And I say this not to be harsh, but I say this just to be real, right? What skill and value do you bring to the space, right? And like that's what part of being the practical about this whole world is, right? And like my practical approach to this whole world was, how can I make travel meaningful, purposeful, right? And that was something I felt that wasn't existing in the beginning, right? In the whole travel industry.
Some people don't even get to that point.
No,
they don't even know how to make it meaningful to anyone but themselves.
But a purpose or a practical element could also be something like taking pictures that no one else takes.
I think in that, like the angle we just talked about it, for a photographer or for a videographer, you go for the shot no one else is going to take.
Exactly.
But that's meaningful to you and your craft. Right? You can replicate that into this, but I don't know, if you're a traveler, you're more than just that. You're looking for experiences.
I feel like the conversation is now veered off into a
you just follow the journey.
Be careful, man.
Follow the journey.
But I want to tap into some personal stories for a bit before we end. And more like kind of to illustrate the sort of life a real traveling nomad has.
Real.
Right? You've been sleeping in airports. You've missed flights. You've
I have a reputation. I have a really. I keep looking at myself. I know. Sorry. So I have a really bad reputation. Of missing flights.
This is not a reputation anymore.
It's half the time. It's only 50% of my fault.
This is this sounds like a problem. People with problems say things like this.
No. But it's so here's the fun part. You're still alive.
I made it. I'm in Malaysia. Right.
For now.
And a lot of the time people think I do it deliberately for Instagram, but like I promise you, it's because I'm an idiot.
He's being real right now. You've left stuff behind.
Man.
You've lost personal belongings. You've missed flights. You've slept in airports.
You've killed your hard disks.
You've destroyed some equipment.
You know what? Like, for me, equipment's there to be functional, and
I agree
and there when you need
yeah.
it. Like, I don't like people who are like prissy with their equipment. Like, like no offensive.
The plastic all is still on.
Stuff like that. I'm just kind of like, yo, if it needs to be there when I need it to be there.
Correct.
Right. So I'm picking it out of my bag, and it needs to be quickly on, and because like moments are so fleeting, so you just need.
Correct. And you've done days without showering.
Like today.
Food? No, I'm just being a guess. No.
Okay, so bro, like when I'm in the city, bro, like I'll shower every day. But like if I'm in like location in like the middle of nowhere, then
there's no
like,
shower
and camping, there's no shower. Then then you gotta do what you gotta do. Right?
You've been in jail.
Yeah. Okay. So
there we go. Legit time. Street cred.
This boy's got street cred, man.
Which one do you want? You want the first time, or do you want like the?
We want a 7.
No. So yeah. So like a lot of what's weird about what I'm an interest of mine is kind of like documentary style, which I'm kind of veering into now with the kind of stuff that I'm doing. And a lot of that is kind of seeking stories that are untold. So a lot of the time you find yourself in places where you probably shouldn't be.
There are real dangers. That's why those stories are not told.
Yes.
Right.
And I was recently in I wasn't picking my nose.
He wasn't. Yeah.
Scratching.
It's okay.
Okay. Hey,
listeners, the listeners might be quite confused right now. But
you guys can cut that.
No, we won't.
We won't.
So I was in I was in Yangon recently.
Yangon,
Myanmar, which obviously is a very politically hostile environment because of the ethnic tension that's happening there. And I was filming in places that I probably shouldn't have.
Right.
In that context, my philosophy is it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I thought I wouldn't get caught. I did get caught.
But he did.
And I ended up in a courthouse and they kept me in jail while they were figuring out what to do with me. Also, I didn't have my passport on me. And I overheard one of them basically say that I look like a Rohingyan, right? Which is where there's a lot of the tension's happening.
Right.
So they didn't believe me that I was British. So they were trying to figure out my identity. I was kept in this prison for a while. And thankfully, it was all right. I was sharing a cell with like 4 other people who were great.
Right.
But it was an experience because Burmese prisons can be quite scary.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't really know, you have no passport on you, you have no means of communication. But it was an experience. We're talking about it now.
You know?
I did it for the gram.
Right. Like,
I'm not sure. But I think what I wanted to illustrate here was that there are people who want to do this because it seems appealing.
Yeah. So that was the point we're trying to say. So like,
it's real, man.
I mean, like the journalistic side is really cool because you feel like you're shedding light on things that need to be shed light on. Yeah. And that was the motivation.
I respect that, man, so much.
Let's put it, you got put into jail for the right reason and not for disrespecting a site where you wanted to just take a selfie.
Yes. So like the whole reason I was there to kind of shed light on the injustice happening to like an ethnic minority.
Yeah, I understand.
There's a big difference between like
it's pretty big difference.
Taking a selfie with a temple or like
in a suicide forest.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think just before we kind of wrap this up, let's talk about what traveling has made you. I think at the beginning of the podcast, you were talking about how, the more you travel, the more you spend time with yourself and your thoughts, it changes who you are, right? And I personally agree with that because I feel like the more you broaden your view of the people and races and cultures around you, the more you understand that you're not really, it's not about you, right? It becomes less about you.
Yeah.
How has traveling on such a frequent basis
affected me personally? 100%. I think massively, and it's still an ongoing conversation. I think like I said before, traveling, the biggest conversation you'll have traveling is with yourself. And so yeah, let me just caveat that with traveling is an extreme privilege. I'm very fortunate to be doing what I do, and not to sound like first world problems or whatever, but there is extreme sacrifice that comes with traveling, right? Yeah. Yes, my life is great, but at the expense of a lot of things that mean a lot to me. My family, for example, who are getting older, my parents, and I'd love to spend more time with them because, time with loved ones is fleeting. Relationships, I can never really lock something down because I'm never really there.
Also meaning he's single?
He is single and available.
Thank you very much. So if you happen to be a pilot, that's an even bigger
my god, that'd be perfect.
That'd be almost
Why
perfect.
did I never think of this?
Because that's what we're here for.
I don't know, man.
My wingman, guys.
Literally, that's what we Chinese do.
Sorry, what else? So it's family, your love life.
Family, love life.
A stable job.
You know what's interesting about traveling? And I don't know whether you guys get this, but I get like super emotional on the plane when I travel.
On the plane?
Yeah, I get emotional too because I'm scared it's going to crash.
Well, yeah, but that's an element of it, right? It's the fragility
of life,
of you being on this metal carrier
thing,
propelled in the air, that you realize that your life could end in any minute. And it's weird. I don't know, but I was speaking to someone else about it and they were like, you're weird, but maybe you guys feel the same. But like, I'll watch a movie on a plane and like, I'll start tearing up.
I think it's altitude.
Does anyone else get? Is that just me?
I think it's just
like
you.
Fast and Furious.
She gets it. Like,
Sarah cries at anything.
What are you watching, man? Are you watching like Fast and Furious? No,
bro. Like on the ground level, like this does nothing to me. But on a plane, I just feel really emotional.
Someone brought this up. Actually, I saw a Facebook status. Someone's talking about how movies are slightly better on planes because you have the.
I think there's like basically what I mean is
altitude sickness.
Yes,
I think it's the air pressure.
It's probably,
probably a lot of things, but it's also the emotional thing that you're very fragile in this container. Life could end at every moment.
Wow.
And how have you consolidated the relationships on the ground?
Oh my goodness!
And like that is deep and heavy for me, right?
Crazy.
And that's one thing that happens a lot. So honestly, before takeoff, I'll send the most emotional messages to like my parents.
Oh my god!
I've been waiting for these messages.
Like, I'll send you one when I leave.
Cheers, it's fine.
And just like basically saying, look, like I know I'm not there physically, but like I'm really grateful for everything you've done for my life, for facilitating me and being emotionally there for me.
I know what you mean.
Like this boy
I actually know what you mean. I do that as well.
Yeah.
Goodbye text.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And like there's something more emotionally impactful about them.
Yeah.
Because at the back of your mind, you are thinking,
this could be the last time.
Down. That remember the last time.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with that
so
one.
there is another. I just wanted to share that because maybe like I don't know.
I love that. All right, guys. I think that's all the time we have for today.
That's so morbid.
We have so much.
But travel is great, guys.
It's great.
It's like really fun.
Okay. No. Yeah. Okay. Maybe let's kind of recap this whole session into MingH's favorite number 3 points.
Yeah.
Number 1. It's a privilege.
It is a massive
right? Like, just make sure you got the resources for that.
Yes.
Manage it well.
Be smart.
Be smart with it. Second, have an open mind, open heart, man.
Yes.
Go in with a posture you just be intentional about it. Go with a posture of respect. Make sure you know that this place isn't yours. You're a visitor.
Yes.
You're a guest.
Well said.
Right? And what was the last one? About being real, practical, and
I think it's just you gotta be practical about it. Yeah. If you're doing it it's fine if you're traveling for fun. Do you,
man.
Right? But if you're traveling and you want to make this a thing, you need to be practical about it.
Yeah.
You need to be practical about
it. And how are you traveling to a place so when you come back you're a better person?
Yeah.
I mean if I would like to think like if you have traveled at least 5 times in your life, and the travels have not changed you, you're not traveling right.
You ain't traveling right.
I just say that.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope you guys listening in have enjoyed this session.
Man, we love having Nads around. We're gonna have
thanks for having me, guys, man.
You around a bit more.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, you just gotta give it a KL a bit more often.
Yeah, I'd love to. And to the beautiful team, thank you so much. You guys are great.
If you guys enjoyed this podcast, make sure you tune into all our other tabletop podcasts on Spotify. Catch up on all the latest episodes. If you love Nads like we do, check him out on his socials, right?
Nadir,
and his YouTube.
Nadir Nads.
Thank you.
MingY is saying NADZ.
Nads, yeah.
S.
Nadir. We'll put the links in our Instagrams as well.
Thank you.
Any final words for your fans?
Thank you for having me. Travel intentionally.
Yeah.
Become a better person, and the world is yours.
That's right.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
We'll see you in the next one.